She answered a roll call. After she died, the roll call answered, "If you think this case can't get darker, think again. Like, subscribe, and comment below. Because this one, it'll leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about the people around you." On the morning of March 21st, 1994, something strange happened at Laurel Valley High School in Northern California. The bell rang at 8:00 a.m., signaling the start of the day's classes. But by the time the second period rolled around, something unusual was unfolding in room 202. A roll call was being taken by Mr. Peterson, the history teacher. He called out every student's name, as he always did, waiting for a response. When he reached the name Sarah Matthews, a student who had tragically passed away in a car accident 2 days earlier, something shocking happened. "She's not here, sir," another student spoke up. But moments later, a strange voice, unmistakably Sarah's, answered, "I'm here." Mr. Peterson's pen hovered over the list, frozen. He glanced up in confusion, certain he had heard her voice, the same voice that had echoed down the hall for the past 2 years. The class fell silent, and an eerie chill ran through the room. No one could understand what was happening, but there was no doubt about it. Someone had just answered the roll call in Sarah Matthews' name. A ripple of disbelief spread through the school. The moment Sarah Matthews' name was called, teachers, students, and even the principal, Mr. Martin, were stunned. This wasn't just a coincidence. Sarah had been dead for 48 hours. Her car had crashed into a tree late on the night of March 19th. Her body had been discovered the next morning. It had been all over the local news. Detective Clara Hayes, the lead investigator on Sarah's case, was quickly contacted. When she arrived at the school, the tension was palpable. She found her sigh of walking through the halls filled with whispers. The school was on edge. She'd already spoken to the grieving family and verified Sarah's cause of death. But what she hadn't expected was this: a voice answering a roll call in a dead girl's name. Clara Hayes was no stranger to odd cases. She'd worked dozens of missing persons, accidents, and homicides in her 15-year career. But something felt different about this one. This wasn't some misunderstanding. There was a deeper, darker story here that hadn't yet come to light. With her notepad in hand, Clara stepped into room 202, where the roll call had occurred. The students were seated, nervous but determined to remain calm. She looked at Mr. Peterson, the teacher, who appeared visibly shaken. He confirmed what she had already heard. Sarah's voice had indeed answered the roll call. But was it possible someone had been playing a prank? Had someone slipped in and pretended to be Sarah, mimicking her voice? That didn't seem likely, not in a school full of trauma-stricken students. Sarah had been beloved, and this was no time for jokes. Clara's mind raced. There were far too many unanswered questions here. "Can you tell me what happened after Sarah's name was called?" Clara asked Mr. Peterson. "Well, it was strange," Mr. Peterson began, his voice shaky. "I called her name as usual. When no one answered, I thought maybe her family had withdrawn her from school or something. But when I moved on to the next name, I heard her, clear as day. It wasn't a whisper. It was like she was right there." Clara nodded, taking notes. "Was anyone else in the room with you when this happened?" "No," Mr. Peterson replied. "Just the students." Clara's eyes darted to the class roster on the wall, noting the students' names, each one now holding a piece of the puzzle. Could this be a prank? A fluke? Or was something far more sinister at play? By the time Clara walked outside to the school's parking lot, the full weight of the situation began to set in. This wasn't just a strange coincidence. Something else was happening here. Something that didn't make sense. But as she climbed into her car and started to drive back to the station, she received a call that would change everything. It was from the morgue. "There's something you need to see," the voice on the other end said. "We've just run an additional test on Sarah Matthews' body. It's..." It's her fingerprints. Clara's heart dropped. She already knew Sarah was dead, but the voice had called out, and now Sarah's fingerprints were on file again. They were still alive, in a way. But what did that mean? The investigation had just begun, and what Detective Hayes would uncover would challenge everything she knew about the case. And it wasn't just about Sarah Matthews anymore. It was about why she answered the roll call after she died. The unseen hand. If you thought things couldn't get weirder, you haven't seen anything yet. Hit like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts below. Because what Detective Hayes uncovers next will leave you breathless. You won't believe who's behind it. The discovery that Sarah Matthews' fingerprints had been found again, weeks after her death, sent a shockwave through Detective Clara Hayes. The morgue had confirmed it. Sarah's prints didn't just match the ones taken before her death. They had reappeared on a piece of evidence from the school. Clara sat in her office, her fingers frozen above the keyboard. A dead girl answering a roll call was one thing, but this was something else. The phone call from the morgue replayed in her mind. Sarah Matthews' prints weren't just on her belongings. They were found on a piece of paper from her school locker. We've checked twice. They're definitely hers. Clara wasn't sure what to think anymore. The medical examiner, Dr. George Timmons, wasn't sure either. It could be a mistake, he had said. A misha'al, EP in the lab. Or maybe someone tampered with her body. But it doesn't explain the voice we heard in the classroom. As she walked through the quiet hallways of the Natun Hollow Creek police station, Clara couldn't shake the feeling that something was pulling her deeper into the mystery. She needed to uncover who, or what, was behind the strange phenomenon. Clara reviewed Sarah's case file again, but nothing stood out that hadn't already been thoroughly investigated. Sarah was a model student, well-liked, with no known enemies. Her death had been a tragic accident, plain and simple. Or so it seemed at first. Then, there was the voice. The unexplained voice answering the roll call. If Sarah was dead, then who or what had spoken in her place? At the school, things weren't any clearer. The entire staff was on edge. The news of Sarah's return had swept through the student body like wildfire. Many students had begun claiming they had seen Sarah walking around, or that they had heard her whispering in the hallways, though no one could say for sure where she had been. Clara had to confront Sarah's classmates and teachers again, hoping to uncover any detail that might explain the impossible. Her first stop was Mr. Peterson, the history teacher who had taken the roll call. He was jittery, clearly on edge. He had been teaching for years, but had never witnessed anything like this. He insisted that he had heard Sarah's voice, but he had no explanation for it. "It was her," he said, almost pleading. "I swear it. I heard her voice." Clara glanced at her notes. "Mr. Peterson, do you remember anything unusual about the day Sarah passed away? Did she seem different in the days leading up to it?" Mr. Peterson's eyes widened. "Well, now that you mention it, she did mention feeling a bit strange. She looked tired. She said she had been hearing things, like someone calling her name at night, but I didn't think much of it at the time. Just stress, maybe." Clara frowned. It was the first time she'd heard anything about Sarah being off before her death, but it wasn't enough to connect the dots. There had to be more. Her next step was to talk to Pwamu, Sarah's best friend. Emily Parker, who had been with Sarah the day she died. Emily was still in shock, unable to make sense of her friend's tragic passing. Emily confirmed the details of that night. Sarah had been driving home after meeting with her. She hadn't been speeding, hadn't seemed distracted, and her car had just veered off the road. The crash wasn't violent, but somehow Sarah's injuries were catastrophic. When Clara asked Emily about the rumors of Sarah's voice being heard, Emily's face grew pale. "I don't know what happened. I don't know why she would answer roll call after she died, but I've been having the strangest dreams. Sarah, she's been in them, watching me just standing there. Her eyes, they're different now, like she knows something I don't. It was then Clara realized that Emily wasn't just grieving her friend. She was scared, terrified. The further Clara pushed into Sarah's personal life, the more the pieces began to unravel. Sarah had a secret she'd never told anyone, one that no one could have predicted. Clara dug deeper into Sarah's family, her background, her interactions with others. What she uncovered sent a shiver down her spine. Sarah's family had deep roots in the town, a long history of influence and connections. One thing stood out in her research. Sarah Matthews' father, Richard Matthews Moss, was an influential figure in the town's history. His name was linked to several key property deals, one of which included the plush old abandoned warehouse on the edge of town, a building that had been closed off for decades. No one knew much about it, but it was said to be connected to Sarah's family. Was Sarah's return connected to this old warehouse? Had her father been hiding something? The dots weren't connecting yet, but Laura could feel the weight of the case pressing harder and harder. There was more to this than an unexplained voice in a classroom. Rachel returned to the school late that night, feeling the sense of urgency creeping through her. As she made her way through the halls, she suddenly heard it again. That unmistakable voice. "Rachel!" She spun around, heart hammering, but there was no one there. No one at all. And then, out of the corner of her eye, she saw something move in the shadows. A silhouette of someone standing in the doorway of Sarah's old classroom. But when Rachel approached, the figure was gone. And on the wall, written in faint chalk, were 3 chilling words. "Help me, Rachel." The truth in the shadows. If you think this case can't get any worse, think again. What Detective Hayes uncovers next will make your blood run cold. Like, subscribe, and comment below, because the real truth is far more terrifying than we ever imagined. Detective Rachel Hayes stood frozen in the doorway, staring at the words scrawled in faint chalk on the wall. "Help me, Rachel." The air felt thick, oppressive, and for a moment, she considered walking away. But she couldn't. The case had already dragged her too far down a path she wasn't sure she wanted to follow. The feeling of being watched was overwhelming. She turned around, hoping to find some explanation, but the hall behind her was empty, silent. The lights flickered above, casting long, eerie shadows across the floor. The only sound was the soft hum of the overhead lights. Rachel's instinct screamed that she wasn't alone. Slowly, she moved down the hallway toward the classroom, her footsteps muffled against the old tiles. She had to figure out why Sarah Matthews had spoken after her death. Who or what was responsible for this twisted mystery? Her flashlight beam swept across the room, landing all and the desks and chairs. Everything was still, untouched, but the hairs on the back of her neck stood up. A chill ran down her spine. The classroom seemed too quiet, too perfect, as if it were waiting for something. She took a step forward and then froze, her flashlight catching something on the floor near the window. It was a painting. School notebook. Half open, pages filled with scribbled notes. She knelt down to pick it up, and as soon as she touched it, a sudden whisper echoed in her ear, followed by the sound of soft footsteps. "Rachel!" Her heart raced. The voice was unmistakable. Sarah's voice. Rachel spun around, but there was no one. The classroom door was still open. Her breath caught in her throat as she stared at the dark corner of the room. A shadow shifted, too quick for her to fully register. With adrenaline surging, Rachel turned and bolted from the classroom back into the hallway. Her mind raced. What the hell was happening? Was Sarah's death just the beginning of something much darker? The notebook in her hand contained a chilling entry, written in Sarah's handwriting. It was dated March 18th, just one day before Sarah's death. I keep hearing him at night. It's not just the sounds anymore. It's the feeling of being watched. I don't know how much longer I can keep running from him. I feel like I'm losing control. I have to find out what he wants before it's too late. But I can't escape." Rachel felt the room spin as she read the words again. The he Sarah referred to was unmistakable. It wasn't just a random person. It was someone who had been in Sarah's life long before her death. Someone with power. Someone who controlled her life from the shadows. Later that evening, Rachel visited Sarah's parents once again, hoping they might have some insight into the haunting notes left behind in the classroom. But as she entered the house, she noticed something had changed. The house, which had once been filled with warmth, now felt cold. The walls, the air, everything seemed to pulse with a strange heavy energy. Sarah's mother, Margaret Matthews, greeted her at the door with a nervous smile, but there was something unsettling about the way she was acting. "Detective Hayes, is everything all right?" Margaret asked, her voice trembling slightly. "I need to ask you more about Sarah," Rachel said, stepping inside. "Is there anything you've remembered about her? Something that might explain the strange events at school?" Margaret's face grew pale. She hesitated for a moment, glancing toward the hallway, as if checking to make sure no one else was around. Then, in a near whisper, she spoke. "I've been having dreams. Strange dreams," she said. "Sarah's been in them. Her voice. It's different, like she's warning me about something, but I don't know what it is. And the dreams don't stop. They've gotten worse since she passed." Rachel's stomach twisted. "Do you think Sarah is trying to reach you from beyond the grave? Or is someone playing a sick game with you?" Margaret's eyes filled with tears as she shook her head. "I don't know anymore. I've felt a presence in the house, Detective. Someone is watching us. I know it's not just grief. It's real." Suddenly, Rachel's phone buzzed, interrupting the conversation. It was a message from the morgue. "We've run a new test. You need to come in." Margaret looked at Rachel in confusion. "What is it? What do you mean?" Rachel couldn't answer her. She was already halfway out the door, her mind racing. What was the morgue trying to tell her? Could it be that Sarah's death wasn't as straightforward as it seemed? When Rachel arrived at the morgue, Dr. Timmons was waiting for her. He led her into the examination room, where Sarah's body was still preserved. But what he showed her next stopped her dead in her tracks. "There's something you need to see," Dr. Timmons said, pointing to the small ball cut on Sarah's neck. Barely noticeable, but enough to raise a red flag. "It's not a typical wound from a car crash," he explained. "It's a puncture wound, and it's consistent with a needle." Rachel's eyes widened. "A needle? You're saying someone injected her with something?" Dr. Timmons nodded grimly. "Yes. And here's the most chilling part. The substance we found in her system. It wasn't alcohol, drugs, or anything commonly found in a car crash. It's a rare substance, one that can put someone into a deep sleep, a coma-like state." Rachel felt her heart pounding. Someone had not only murdered Sarah Matthews, but had made sure to leave her in a state where she could be controlled, silenced, and erased, before making it look like an accident. As Rachel stood there, a new sense of urgency gripped her. Sarah Matthews hadn't just been killed. She'd been manipulated, her body used as a tool to hide a greater secret. And someone was still watching. Someone still pulling the strings. The investigation was no longer about Sarah's death alone. It was about uncovering who was responsible for keeping the truth buried. If you thought this was all about a tragic accident, think again. This is just the beginning. Hit like, comment, and subscribe to stay with Detective Hayes as she uncovers what's really behind Sarah Matthews' death. Because the next twist will leave you speechless.